Okay, so if we played you a piece of music, just a single looping drum beat.
Right, that hypnotic rhythm.
Yeah, and it just repeats and builds and grows for like 15 minutes until it's just this huge, overwhelming sound.
You'd know it instantly. It's bolero.
Exactly. But what's so interesting is that the composer, Maurice Ravel, didn't really see music as this, passionate explosion of feeling,
Not at all. For him, it was more like a perfectly engineered machine.
a machine. And that's really the key to understanding him. Ravel was born in 1875 in the south of France, and he was, well, a master craftsman.
He really was. His music manages to sound like a delicate, shimmering painting one minute.
And then the next, it's constructed with the precision of a Swiss watch.
And his family background kind of sets that up perfectly. He was born near the Spanish border, and his mother was from the Basque country.
So that Spanish influence, the rhythms, the melodies, that was a huge part of his
A
identity.
huge part. But then on the other side, his father was a successful Swiss engineer and inventor.
So you have this mix of passionate folk rhythm and then cold, hard mechanics.
Exactly. Even though he moved to Paris as a baby, that dual heritage really defined his entire career.
And he was obviously a gifted kid. He got into the Paris Conservatoire when he was only 14.
14, which is incredible. But even though he was technically amazing, he really did not like their strict practice rules.
He wasn't a fan of being told what to do.
Well, it wasn't just about being a rebel. He just needed creative control, not, being forced to conform to old-fashioned rules.
Which brings us to his style. Everyone tends to just lump him in with Impressionism, right next to composers like Debussy.
They do, and he actually disliked that label.
So let's quickly define that. When we talk about musical impressionism, we're talking about music that's all about creating a mood or an atmosphere, right?
Right. It uses really complex harmonies and instrumental colors, and it's less about a rigid structure. It's meant to sound like a painting with soft edges.
Like a Monet painting in sound form.
A perfect analogy. But Ravel, he needed that structure. While he used all those modern, complex chords and scales, he always put them inside very traditional classical forms.
So he took the new paint colors of his time, but he was still painting within the lines of the past.
Exactly. That's why some people call him a neoclassicist. He was an absolute perfectionist. He would polish every single note until it was perfect.
Music had to be beautiful, but technically flawless first.
That was his rule. And you can really see that obsession in the piano pieces he wrote. I mean, for advanced piano students today, his work is like climbing Mount Everest.
It's notoriously difficult.
It is. A piece like Gaspard de la Nuit is considered one of the hardest things ever written for the piano.
What makes it so hard? Is it just fast?
It's not just the speed. It's the textures he creates. There are these incredibly rapid, repeated notes, huge jumps across the keyboard, and tiny little changes in volume all at the same time.
So you need incredible finger speed, but also a super sensitive touch.
Exactly. But then he could also turn around and write something like the Pavano for a Dead Princess.
Which is so gentle and haunting and became super popular.
It shows his range. And he was a genius at making the piano sound like a whole orchestra. He used the highest and lowest notes and some really tricky pedaling to create this massive sound.
That structural thinking is really clear in another piece, Le Tombeau de Couperin.
Oh, that's such a moving piece, especially when you know the backstory.
He wrote it as a tribute, right?
Yeah, for friends he lost in the First World War. And to do that, he chose these old 18th century French dance forms, like a minuet,
Yeah.
and then filled them with these modern 20th century harmonies full of sadness.
It's like he's honoring the past while grieving in the present.
It's beautiful. And that focus on rhythm brings us back to his Spanish side. That connection wasn't just a small thing for him.
No, it was central to his music.
Absolutely. His Basque heritage gave him this natural feel for Spanish dance rhythms. You hear the bolero and the habanera all the time in his music, and it gives it this vibrant energy.
Yeah, you can almost feel the Spanish sun in pieces like Rhapsody Espagnole.
And he even wrote an opera called The Spanish Hour, set in a clock shop in Spain.
A clock shop. Of course he did.
He would even make the piano sound like a strumming guitar. It's that blend of folk energy and French sophistication that makes his work so unique.
Which, of course, brings us back to Bolero, the big one. To him, it was just an exercise.
That's the craziest part. He never thought it would become his most famous work. It was commissioned for a ballet, and he designed it as a pure experiment.
The idea is so simple. It's one short melody that just repeats over and over.
And it starts so quietly, just a single snare drum playing that rhythm almost in the background. Then one instrument plays the tune, then another joins in.
The genius is all in the orchestration.
100%. Orchestration is just the art of choosing which instruments play what parts, and Ravel builds the tension in Bolero just by adding more and more instruments and getting louder and louder until the whole orchestra is playing at full blast.
It's a masterclass in how to build drama with just sound, color, and volume.
And it really cemented his reputation as maybe the greatest orchestrator in history.
He just knew what every instrument could do.
He knew their exact range, their character, everything from the tiniest piccolo to the biggest tuba, and he would mix their sounds together to create brand new colors.
Is there a good example of that?
Well, he was famous for creating this shimmering, watery sound. He'd do it by blending the sound of a harp with just the right woodwind instruments so they sounded like a single new instrument. It's like sound alchemy.
And his most famous orchestration wasn't even his own music.
Right. He took a piano piece by Modest Mussorgsky called Pictures at an Exhibition and turned it into this incredible orchestral showpiece.
His version is way more famous now than the original piano version.
Oh, yeah. It's still used today to teach students how to write for an orchestra. It's just that good.
So let's talk about the man himself.
Yeah.
When World War I started, Ravel was determined to serve France.
He was, but he was a bit too old and small to be a soldier, so he signed up as a truck driver for an artillery unit near the front lines.
That must have been a brutal experience.
It was. He saw horrible things, got very sick, and was eventually discharged. And on top of all that, his mother died during the war, which was a huge blow to him.
You can hear a change in his music after that. It gets a bit darker.
It does, but he kept creating. He wrote a huge ballet called Daphnis et Chloe.
That's one of the choir, right?
Yeah, the choir sings without words, just as another texture. The sunrise scene from that ballet is one of the most amazing pieces of music ever written.
And he wrote an opera for kids, too, with talking animals and furniture.
He did. He had a whimsical side, but personally he was a very private man, never married, no children, just completely dedicated to his work.
And he was always impeccably dressed, very stylish. And he loved Siamese cats.
His whole life was very ordered and precise, just like his music, and he got huge international recognition for it. In 1928, he toured the United States.
That's where he met George Gershwin, right?
Right. Yes, and he was fascinated by American jazz. He loved the rhythms and started to work some of those ideas into his own music. He was always listening, always learning.
But his final years were incredibly tragic.
Yeah. He developed a neurological condition that started affecting his brain.
And for a composer who was all about precision and control, it was just the cruelest possible illness. It affected his speech and, worst of all, his ability to write music down.
The music was still there in his head. He could hear it perfectly, the harmonies, the orchestration, everything. But the connection from his brain to his hand was just gone.
I can't even imagine how frustrating that must have been.
To have all these ideas trapped inside you. And a car accident in 1932 might have made his symptoms even worse.
It's just devastating.
They tried brain surgery in 1937, but it wasn't successful. He passed away shortly after that, at age 62.
Maurice Ravel really is a giant. He perfectly bridged that gap between the emotional color of Impressionism and the clear structure of neoclassicism.
His techniques, especially in orchestration, are still influencing composers today, especially in film scores where sound is so important.
He showed that true art isn't just about emotion. It requires incredible discipline, math, and structure to make something that lasts.
He once said that music should be a precise clockwork mechanism that needed to function perfectly.
A perfect description of his own work. It's an unforgettable lesson in how precision can create passion.
Good luck with your studies.